on the 19th of July 2022, President Muhammadu Buhari unveiled the new identity of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC Limited, thereby transforming the former NNPC from a government-owned corporation to a commercially focused oil and gas entity, and now to be regulated by the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, in line with the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, that was newly signed into law in 2021. Today we're going to be looking at the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, formerly known as the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, a corporation fully owned by the government, now a limited liability company, positioned for a commercially driven profit entity. Now, most Nigerians have argued that the reason why the former NNPC could not perform to its optimal level was because of the institutional regulations that stifled its performance, and that's why it couldn't really perform. Any institution, government-owned institution, usually are heavily regulated with red tapeism and all kinds of bureaucratic bottlenecks. So they say that it is because of all these bottlenecks and institutional regulations that actually prevented the former NNPC from performing, from delivering on its mandates. So because now, if you go to the street now, you go to the street and then you just ask an average Nigerian, what are the problems of this country? What you're likely to hear, it will be that I want to feel safe, I want to feel secure, I want to be able to provide food for my family, I want the insecurity to end, I want the corruption to end. So these are likely the responses that you're going to be getting from these ordinary Nigerians on the streets. But of course, this video is about the changing of NNPC to NNPC Limited, to see if this change in a way will usher in the much needed expectation by Nigeria. Because we were the 6th largest oil producing country in the world, and then we are unable to reap the dividends of being in that particular position compared to counterparts and like Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, who citizens are really cruising home, enjoying the largesse of life, enjoying the posh, living the posh lifestyle, and yet Nigerians are wallowing in poverty, penury, and destitution. So now with what they're saying, that with this rebranding, this commercialized former NNPC, that things are likely to be different. So we're really going to look at this to be sure that indeed things will be different, and then Nigerians will begin to enjoy the dividends of being one of the largest oil producing countries of the world. So that is what this video is all about. That's what we're going to be dissecting. So the question is, does the magic of a miraculous turnaround from NNPC to NNPC Limited, does it reside in the name change? Is it that, okay, by a stroke of magic from NNPC to NNPC Limited, suddenly all the good things, all the benefits that we did not enjoy when it was NNPC will suddenly come to the table, and then Nigerians will start having fun and start enjoying this black gold that God has actually blessed us with. So that is the question here. So, but then before I even venture into all that, I know that article, from the video.
The long and short story is that I am committed to privatizing NNPC. I said it. Are you normal? I swear, even if they are going to kill me, I will do it.
Okay, now you can hear that. Atiku had once said that, said recently that government has actually usurped or, stolen, as it were. Government, the APC government has actually stolen his idea. That it was the one that was canvassing for the rebranding of Nnpc, unbundling of Nnpc. That government just stole his idea. I was like, wow, stole your idea. So even if nobody has monopoly of idea, for goodness sake, how did they steal your idea? So I'm just asking, why would Atiku say that his idea has been stolen? If you think his idea indeed has been stolen, leave your comments on the comment section. Let's interact. Or you think the change will usher in competence and swift positioning of Nnpc Ltd as an institution that will boost economic activities and by extension improve the fortunes of Nigerians? Because if you ask me, most institutions in this country have failed. We have had failed Nnpc, failed NITEL, failed Nigerian Airways, failed the health institution, failed educational system, failed banking system. In fact, failed this, failed that. You can even add your own. The list goes on and on. So by this new rebranding, do you think everything will just magically, with a stroke of magic, turn around, and they will begin to enjoy the dividends of producer of oil, just like its counterparts around the world? Do you think so? So after the unveiling, the president went ahead to read out the do's and don'ts regarding the new Nnpc, to include one, that the new Nnpc will be regulated by the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC. Two, that the new Nnpc will operate without any funding from government. Three, that the new Nnpc will not be expected to transfer any revenue to the coffers of government and will also be free from institutional regulations, just like the Treasury Single Account TSA, the Public Procurement and Fiscal Responsibility Act, but it will be under the oversight of the international law as regards oil and gas industry. The president went ahead to say that it will, of course, conduct itself under the international business practices in transparency, governance, and commercial viability. That the new Nnpc will operate in a commercial, independent, and viable national oil company at par with its peers around the world. So that's what the president said. So now, I hope with the new Nnpc becoming a limited liability company, that the plan of spending 6.72 trillion naira as fuel subsidy will be shelved. Yes, that with the new Nnpc, the planned spending of 6.72 trillion naira will be shelved. Just asking. Okay, so that is going to be the positive highlights of this rebranding of Nnpc from a government corporation to a commercially viable entity positioned for profitability. So this is going to be a sign. If, of course, you can't say Nnpc is now positioned for profitability, and yet you're spending 6.72 trillion naira as fuel subsidy. So you can see why nations with functional institutions prosper compared with nations with failed institutions like Nigeria, that continues to wallow in abject poverty, penury, and destitution. Let me at this point welcome you to my channel, Shanice Digest. I welcome on board my new subscribers, where I appreciate my returning subscribers. This is the channel where we get to speak out and say it as it is. So the new Nnpc Ltd, do you think that is going to be the game economic changer for Nigerians and Nigeria? Do you think so? You think the change is going to usher in a prosperous nation and increase our per capita income and turn around the fortunes of the citizens? Because they say, okay, now that it's going to be a limited liability company positioned for profit, commercially driven for profit making, it will be more accountable, transparent, and that the technical competence will no longer be in doubt. You think this rebranding is going to give all these accolades to Nnpc, or Nnpc, the Nigerian factor, is going to swallow the new Nnpc, just like it swallows every other thing that we have tried to, turn around? Do you think so? Because they say government has no business in running a business, because government lacks that management skill to drive any business because of institutional regulations. Because of institutional regulations, most of these institutions suffer from recidivism and all kinds of bureaucratic bottlenecks that have stifled performance and productivity. So now that the new Nnpc is now a limited liability company that is positioned for profit making, you think it's going to turn the tide around for the citizens? Let's even give you a sense of how Nnpc, a regulatory petroleum agency, has failed this country. Established 44 years ago on April Fool's Day 1977. Well, I don't want to say that because it was established on April Fool's Day and then we are fooled, we are jinxed. I don't want to say that because you know what April Fool is. Everything is a mirage. So because all the expectation of establishing Nnpc have not come to the fore, have not been achieved. So that's why I say, could the corporation be jinxed just because it was founded or established on April Fool's Day? I don't think so. No. This is a serious matter, Shanice. You don't have to, be comical about that. So it's a serious matter. Anyway, that's just by the way. Nnpc was merged with the defunct Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the National Oil Corporation to form Nnpc, and was given a mandate to harness, sustain, explore, produce, and market the product on behalf of the federal government. That was what Nnpc was positioned to perform by turning around the Nigerian economy. So, in your assessment, do you think Nnpc, the former Nnpc, of course this one is just starting, I can just still call it Nnpc because we haven't really seen what this has done yet. So excuse me when I call it Nnpc, I'm still referring to the old Nnpc, whatever that means. The new one, we haven't even seen it take off yet, and let alone to see its performance. So now, do you think Nnpc was able to achieve these noble objectives that set it up? Was it able to turn around the Nigerian economy? That's the question. Let's even give you a sense of how Nnpc, a regulatory petroleum agency, has failed this country for the past 44 years. Nigeria is not only Africa's largest producer of oil, but was also ranked as the 6th largest oil producing country in the world for many years before being displaced by Iraq and dropping to the 11th position in 2021 after Iran. Yet this position has never reflected in the standard of living of Nigerians compared with other citizens of oil-producing countries of the world like Kuwait, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, whose citizens are enjoying very high per capita income and living posh life, while the Nigerian citizens wallow in abject poverty, penury, and destitution. Let's see some statistics to back this up. Saudi Arabia GDP per capita income is $28,759 with over $1 trillion in GDP and 0.8 inflation rate and 5% unemployment rate. Can you even compare that to Nigeria? Can you? And now Iran, with all the problems, challenges, and sanctions it is facing around the world, yet remains 9th largest producer of oil, producing about 2.5 million barrels per day, with about $1.7 billion in GDP, and its citizens enjoying very high per capita income of about $16,784. And compare that with Nigeria as the 11th largest producer of oil in the world as at 2021, producing about 1.3 million barrels per day, producing about 1.3 million barrels per day, and the GDP of about $440 million. See, the GDP of about $440 million and per capita income of about $2,085. Then it's like comparing oranges with apple. For goodness sake, what has become of us? My closing thoughts: the enactment of the Petroleum Industrial Act and the eventual birth of Nnpc Ltd appears to be a testament of Nigerians' preparedness to effectively compete in the global oil and gas space. The demands for transparency, accountability, and the demonstration of technical competence will in due course show us the direction of this new enterprise. Today, Nnpc still imports fuel running into trillions of naira. Nnpc has remitted zero kobo to the coffers of government in the last 6 months. 27 states are broke and unable to pay tax. The new Nnpc is only commercialized, not privatized. There's a huge difference. Only commercialized, not privatized. Meaning, he will not be, subject. He will not be subject to the scrutiny. Its activities will not be subject to the scrutiny of Public Procurement and Fiscal Responsibility Acts. It will not be answerable to NASS, National Assembly. So, this is just, for me, it's just like the usual Nigeria thing where they feel that the best way to tackle incompetence is to change a name. Changing a name doesn't really doesn't magically transfer competence or technical competence into the operations of the institutions. Because the only thing that can make Nnpc accountable, I stand to be corrected. The only thing that can make Nnpc accountable is when Nnpc goes fully public, where it can be, its activities can be scrutinized by, Public Procurement and Fiscal Responsibility Acts, where it can be called upon by National Assembly, and when things don't really go well. So for just commercializing Nnpc, for me that's more cosmetic. It is superficial, because and only waiting for its doomsday, the usual Nigerian way, only waiting for its doomsday. And for me, I see that as a very serious waste of public funds, complete waste of public funds. If you ask me, complete waste of public funds. So because if for me, the much touted accountability, transparency, and demonstration of technical competence will be nothing more than a mirage. Will be nothing more than a mirage if the right thing is not done. This is where I draw the curtain for today. Thank you for finding the time to watch my video. If you like the content of my video, please give it a thumbs up, strike on that notification bell so that you get to be notified whenever I upload a new video like this. Leave your comment down below and do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Remain awesome. See you in a bit. Peace out.